What is up, everyone? Hey, Daniel here, and I'm back again for another episode of Voices of the Kingdom. And so, these are the three questions I always like to ask you before we start. Are you an entrepreneur that wants to discover your voice, share your message, and impact lives with kingdom principles? Are you having a challenging time figuring out how you can have God in your business full time? Are you looking to take your business to the next level with our Daddy God? So, if you have these questions, then you're in the right place. So, if you're watching this live, type in hashtag live in the comment section. And if you're watching this on the replay, type in hashtag replay. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell to get updates on our upcoming episodes and trainings. So, we're going to set a 30-second timer, and after that, I'll be introducing you to my next guest here with me today. So till then, I'll see you guys in a bit. What's up, everyone? Good to be back here again for another episode of Voices of the Kingdom. And today, my next guest is an entrepreneur who discovered the true meaning of family and financial freedom, right? So, after realizing that their photography business was taking up all their time, he and his wife Chelsey made a life-changing decision, right? So they embarked on a journey to create passive income streams, allowing them to support their family without sacrificing time or stretching themselves thin. And that was when the Rainmakers was born. So now they are on a mission to help moms and even dads experience the same freedom that they are experiencing, right? So without further ado, today we're going to have him right here in Voices of the Kingdom with us. So without further ado, let us put our hands and let us welcome the one and only Stephen Diaz.
What's up, everybody? Good to see you, Daniel. Man,
Good to
it's
see
gonna
you.
be a fun time.
Let's go.
Awesome. I like this music. Get hyped up.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Stephen. It's such an honor for me to have you on Voices of the Kingdom, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Yeah, of course, man. It's always fun running into you. We've kind of been in parallel pathways for the last few years, and we see each other at conferences. And man, Daniel is persistent. He was like, "Hey, I got to get you on the show. I got to get you on the show." And I was like, "Let's do this thing." I love talking about this. I was telling him, our business is a little more covert, right? We don't really lead a lot with biblical principles, but it's something that is part of our foundation. Kingdom
Mm.
works everywhere, regardless if you lead with it or you don't lead with it in your business. And so it's fun to geek out on this topic because I don't get to do it as that often.
That's awesome, Stephen. Thank you so much for being here again, once again. And like you mentioned, yeah, you have an overtly business, so you don't, speak so much, but behind the scenes, I'm sure that there are so many foundations that have built on kingdom principles, and yeah, in that private time with your family and with yourself, and you build this business on top of that, and have such a strong foundation, a strong business that's going on right now with those principles that are impacting lives that are in the marketplace right now. So, with that being said, could you just share a little backstory on how you became a rainmaker? That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a little bit, we were in the photography industry. So we were shooting weddings, like wedding photographers every Saturday, be out there, Chelsey and I, taking the photos of weddings. And really, the business was our baby at the time. We didn't have kids at the time, and the business really took up all of our life, right? Like just like a baby, right? The business would keep us up in the middle of the night. Business would take up most of our hours. And we love what we did, but we definitely hustled. It was definitely a hustle season, and I think we got a little caught up in that, I don't know, kind of hustle culture, right? Of just like, hey, work harder, make more, work harder, make more.
Mhm.
And so it was really a season where we overcommitted ourselves. We booked probably too many weddings. We had 43 weddings in a season. So like, it's like a summer season. And so that's like double headers. I think we had 8 weddings in May.
Wow.
Where it was just like Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you're editing in the in-between. It was just crazy. And it was really, we got to the point where we were burnt out. We were overextended. We were overwhelmed. And friends stopped calling us. Family stopped calling us. It was just like, oh, they're too busy. Right. But down deep, we really had a heart for family. We had a heart for legacy. And we knew that starting a family would be in our future too. And so we didn't know like how we could do that, right? Like it felt impossible because the business was taking up all our time. And so that's what really put us on the journey of exploring alternative ways to make income outside of just we call it like level 1, right? Level 1 opportunities are opportunities where you are the person doing the thing. Like you do the thing and you get paid. Like you categorize level 1 opportunities by things you do with your hands, right? Now you can like be like a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon. You can make, good income, right? Doing a very, very specialized thing with your hands, but you are directly limited to your input output, right? You put in time, you make money out, right? And so we were in this level 1 thing. We really wanted to level up to what we call level 2 opportunity, which is unification, where you are now using leverage and you're managing other people who do the thing, right? And so we explored how to do that maybe with weddings. Maybe we could hire people to shoot the weddings and hire editors. And we explored that a little bit, but it really didn't have the leverage that we were looking for, like that was scalable, that didn't have a ceiling on it, that didn't require a lot of our time. And so we really went on like a journey. I know we call it the spaghetti season. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, like throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what would stick. I guess that's how you test to see if the spaghetti's done. I've never done that. I would probably ruin the right. But we were just in that season with like side hustles. Like I was like on every webinar. I was on every, VSL. I was just like doing everything to just like see like, is there anything we could do outside of photography? We loved photography. But it was like, what if we could tone this back and put some time into something that gave us more financial freedom as well as time freedom? And I don't know if you want me to keep telling the story, but we basically kind of ran around that mountain for like 2 years, just trying to figure something out. And I don't know, I kind of say this as a caution to early stage entrepreneurs because it's a trap you can fall into. I don't believe like anything is wasted. So a lot of skill sets that are built in that time frame, if you are kind of feeling like you're in your own spaghetti season, they're not wasted. But we really had to come to a point where we had to focus. And because when we looked at the bottom line, right, like we looked at, okay, now we got 8 different side hustles going, right, and the wedding business. Wow. It didn't solve our problem of overextending ourselves, right? We were just continuing to like build, and everything brought in a little bit more. Like we started this photo booth business that brought in a little bit more. We started this like Instagram growth business that brought in a little bit more. And like we had like 7 or 8 businesses, right? And I was actually reading a book. It's a cool book. If your audience wants to check it out, it's called Poverty, Riches, and Wealth by Chris Valentin. And in that book, he talks about it was just like a random point he was making in the book. It wasn't even like really the focus of the book, but he said in the book, a vine overextended will just grow sticks, right? Like it'll just, keep growing and growing and it won't grow fruit anymore. Like the vine will no longer grow fruit. It'll just grow a stick because it's stretching itself too far and the nutrients can't reach. And so if you're in a season where you're feeling a little bit overextended, the key thing to do is you got to trim the vine. You got to trim back to the fruit so that you can see more fruit in the next season. Even though trimming can be painful, even though trimming looks ugly, you ever gone to like, Napa and seen the vines when they're trimmed? It's like, are those ever going to grow again? It looks like you really cut them back. But really, when we read that sentence, Daniel, like we really felt like, man, we've overextended ourselves even further. In the search for something else, we overextend ourselves even more. It's time to trim back. And thankfully, I would say miraculously, one of those side hustles that we were into was selling physical products like online, like e-commerce, and it had a lot of leverage. And so when we trim back, right, you trim back to the fruit, the results. And so we had fruit in the wedding business that was working, and we had fruit in this e-commerce thing. So we cut everything else out. We sold the photo booth off. We stopped the Instagram thing, and we trimmed back to the fruit. And we basically had now 2 things. We had the wedding thing, and we had this like e-commerce thing, right? And the e-commerce thing is what eventually morphed into what we do now with Rainmakers, where we help people launch their own physical products. And we use Amazon because Amazon has the highest form of leverage, where you can leverage their customer service, their shipping network, their fulfillment, all those things. So you can scale the business and have 200 products in your shop, but you're not having to pack and ship every single one. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of in between and in between there and there, but I want to keep the story short for you. But we really just like kind of, I feel like God really led us into it, but it was also
Mm.
listening to those warnings and listening to wisdom and then making the hard choice, because trimming is not fun. It's not easy. It doesn't always feel great, but when you trim back to the fruit, it really gives you the focus you need and the energy and the nutrients, right, to grow
Mhm.
more fruit in the next season. And that's definitely a kingdom principle.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's an amazing story right there. And but in regards to, I understand that you had 8 different things going on at the same time, right? And so with that being said, how did you know that this path, right, the Amazon FBA was the path, it was something that you're going to do and also going to teach?
Yeah.
What gave you that insight there to
Yeah,
push on
we
further?
didn't know we were gonna teach it at the time, but really it came down to I would say I wasn't this eloquent about it back then. It just kind of felt right.
Hmm.
But when we look back, if I was gonna write down one word for you guys, it'd be the word leverage. Like we were looking for an opportunity that had leverage. And by leverage, I mean like leverage is kind of like, it's like the jack underneath the car. Like, how does this little thing lift such a big car? Leverage is like you put in an hour into something, but then it's like you put in 10 hours or 100 hours, right? It's like kind of building a house. It takes some time, but then you can live in the house for years to come. Like that's leverage. And so photography was one-to-one relationship. Put hour in, dollar out, hour in, dollar out, right?
Hmm.
But with this e-commerce Amazon thing, we saw like, okay, put some dollars in, put some time in, sit back, and dollars were just coming out, coming out, coming out. I think
Mm.
where it really clicked for us, we were actually at a wedding. We live in Northern California, Chico. It's very hot up here in the summer. Like it was probably triple digits at this wedding, like 100 degrees. And we're sitting there. I think the first break, any wedding people know, like you don't really get a lot of breaks as a wedding photographer, but you get one break and it's like at dinner, right? And so the bride and groom are eating, all the guests are eating, and you get to kind of like get your plate and scarf your food really quickly. And I remember just one of those times looking down at my phone and seeing a notification pop up from Amazon. We were on Amazon at the time selling these products. We were selling these wooden toys. It was so random. And I can talk about how we find the products and stuff later. But we started to see on Amazon these notifications coming up that we had made more on Amazon that week than we had at this wedding. And we were like, we're working the wedding. We're not shipping products out. And so that's really, I think, where me and Chelsey looked at each other and we're like, this is it, and it really
Mm.
felt like a weight was lifted off of us because we were kind of in this hustle mode of we got to hustle, we got to do this to really hit the goals that we're looking for, and go after the things we're going after. And so when we built this Amazon thing, it was finally like, wow, not only could replace this income, but it could free us up so we don't have to take on as many weddings, and eventually it retired us out of that profession entirely.
Wow, that's amazing, right? And the word that you used just now, right there, leverage, right? That's where you found out that, yeah, this is the path, and it was the thing that you want to do for moving forward, right? And
Mhm.
I understand also that when you started off, right, uh, I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
you kind of went into more of your majority clients that you help was moms, right?
Mm.
And so you kind of went into picking that niche of helping moms at first. So because as I understand that, you did not have a child yet, but you still continue on to niche down to help moms
Oh
when you
yeah, yeah.
started. So could you just share, like, how did you overcome that struggle? Because I understand, like, some entrepreneurs, or like kingdom entrepreneurs especially, when they were helping this bunch of people, but they kind of are not in the similar level as that person that they help. But how did you overcome that
Mm.
struggle? I'm sure it was a struggle, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we were doing the Amazon thing. Now at this point, it's making more than we make in the weddings. It's really, I mean, that was so exciting to us. Like Chelsey and I felt this weight lifted off. Even the next wedding season, we didn't feel like, oh, we got to hustle and
Mhm.
like strive. We could actually take on our dream weddings and like say no to the other ones we didn't really want to do because Amazon was bringing in this income. And because of
Mm.
that, we were so excited about Amazon. We started just telling people. So we just started like telling other wedding friends. I taught my mom how to do it. We would post in like wedding groups we were in like in the winter, and hey, you guys, like, so the teaching kind of just naturally happened because it was like we loved the result it was getting in our lives, and we
Mhm.
wanted to share that. It's like if you have something good, like share it, right? And so we weren't really planning to start an education business. It was more just an excitement. of, wow, like this is super exciting. I want other people to experience this feeling. And then I think teaching for me actually helps me learn it better, right? Because like there's a difference between teaching. I heard someone say once that it's like, you know, if it's complex, you're still a student, but if you can make it simple, like you're the master, like you can teach
Wow.
it, right? And so it would help me take these complex topics and make them simple if I could help someone else do it. And so that helped me really master the skill set, which helped us grow our business better, right? So
Mhm.
we started teaching at the beginning, like you said, it actually wasn't for moms. It was just like for anyone. It was kind of like anyone who would listen to us. But because of that, I think this is just like a marketing tip that we've learned when you're starting out, like the internet is a very large place, right? And so, you know, compared to like a local business, like we are a wedding business. So we're used to just like, we're wedding photographers. We didn't like niche down, right?
Mhm.
Because like our town is not that big. But on the internet, it's huge. So like you want to niche down because we were just like make money on Amazon. That was kind of our thing. And there's 1,000 other make money on Amazon people out there, as
Yep.
well as we didn't have a lot of kind of strength of our community because there was so many random people that, you know, were in different life stages, and it's hard to talk to them or serve them, I would say, at a high level if you don't really know who you're serving, right? You don't have
Mhm.
clarity because there's so many different people. And so that was an advice one of our mutual mentors, Pedro, gave us was you need to niche down, you need to niche down. And so he really advised us to niche down into it was between photographers and moms, because when we looked
Mm.
at the people that had come in and learned from us and experienced results, it was really like photographers and it was moms. Because that was kind of the people we were connected to. And even though we weren't parents at the time, we chose moms because that one we had the most fruit, right? You kind of like look at the fruit, right?
Mm.
And so again, a kingdom principle, right? A tree will be known by its fruit. And so in your
Mm.
business, if you're like thinking like, oh, I want to lean into something, look where the results are. Where was it easy? Who's getting like really good results? And once we did that, it actually helped the business really take off because it gave us a lot of clarity on how to speak to moms, how to serve moms, how to design an experience and a teaching experience for moms specifically, even though we weren't parents ourselves. And then Chelsey actually got pregnant shortly after that because now we
Yeah.
weren't hustling in the wedding business so much. We actually could have a family. We actually could have Saturdays off to go to farmer's market with our son. And so that was really sweet stepping into parenthood. And I think it was so cool that God kind of led us into that before we became parents, because when
Mm.
we became parents, it really hit us the impact of what we were doing and
Wow.
what we are called to do for these families. And, I really believe that when you free a mom up with not only her financial freedom, but her time freedom, and oftentimes that spills over to the dad. A lot of times these moms will end up retiring their husbands, right? In our program, like this is what allows them to really raise world changers, to really not be so stressed around them, to not just say to their kids, believe in your dreams, but not show them it, right? It
Yep.
allows them to really thrive here, but also leave a thriving legacy for years to come.
Wow. Well, as you were speaking, this word just came to me as well. You took that step of faith, and you saw that fruits that were from the moms, right? The niche that you're helping moms, and this word came to me, which is like the grace of God was also upon you during that time, to flow through you, and you see your fruits, giving birth, to all these awesome moms, and they are also crushing it with what you have taught them, and it's just like that constant ripple effect that goes on, and they touching other people's life and so on. And another thing that you mentioned in regards to seeing the fruits, you do see the fruits as well when it comes to choosing a coach that you're putting your trust into as well. Could you touch on that path as well? Like what
Yeah.
fruits do you see in a coach, for you to like really
Yeah.
trust them and invest in them and so on?
Yeah. I mean, it took us a lot of years before we actually invested in ourselves with like hiring mentors or even going to conferences. But once we did it, like it actually started when we were photographers. The first photography conference we went to, it was like, I think we actually got in for free because I like offered to make a video for the conference. Like we were just like, it's super budget. And it was just like, hey, like if we make a video, can we come type of thing. But I mean, just being in that room, hearing one talk, it was like this person who was 10 years ahead of us, and they saved us 10 years of time just by giving us that one tip. It was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that's so worth it. So that's where we caught the bug of like, wow, there's a big ROI, return on investment, when you invest in yourselves by being around other people that like have just gone through it before. Like, why learn it all yourself if someone's already gone through it? So we've really every year look for mentors, look for courses, look for communities, conferences, that there's something there that like we want to have reflected in us. So one of my favorite quotes is, what you carry will be reflected in those you lead. And it's so true. Like if you're choosing a mentor, look for what they carry, and that will be
Mm.
reflected in you as you lean into that person. And so, um, uh, we talked about Pedro. Like Pedro is one of our first mentors in kind of this space of online marketing. Actually, I should say second mentor. But like we were in a program actually that was not very kingdom. They taught a lot of marketing principles, but then we met Pedro, and then Pedro was taking these marketing principles but filtering them through a kingdom lens. So instead of just playing on people's orphan tendencies and doing scarcity tactics that weren't honest, right? It was like, how can we use, things in a business that love them at a higher level, or help them steward what they have, or help them, build trust, right? Like these are kingdom principles that work forever. They're not just tactics. And that was really helpful for us, just to like not only have the marketing expertise, but also have, the kingdom lens to filter it through. So, we weren't just doing what was working now, but wasn't really honest.
Wow, wow, that's really true right there. And when you mentioned kingdom lens, could you just share a little bit about the kingdom lens that you utilize to view all these fruit and the works that have been done by all these coaches and all?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I learned a lot from Jesus, right? Like Jesus gave a lot of parables, a lot of analogies, and a lot of them you got to kind of dig out, And so, um, one of my favorite, like, sayings, I guess, of Jesus is he says, he that has will have more in abundance, right? So he that has will have more in abundance, but he that like doesn't have or has not, even that will be taken away. It's kind of one of those like
Mm,
riddles almost. Like you almost have to like write it down, but he that has will have more in abundance. He that has not, even that will be taken away, right?
wow.
So focus on what you have, it'll multiply. You'll have more. Focus on what you
Mm,
don't have, and you will not have and not have more, right? And so like what you focus on really
wow.
matters. And so even in business, I think a lot of people, focus on what they don't have. Oh, I'm not at that goal yet, or I'm not at this level yet, or I don't have the money, right? Like any of this language around I can't, I don't, I'm not enough. Like these are all things that are focusing on what you have not. And so when you're focusing on those things, guess what happens? What Jesus said, even that will be taken away. So even that little thing that you don't even have, or you're saying, it will be taken away, right?
Wow.
But focus on what you have. So when we were kind of in this business, like of when we were in this overwhelm season, let's just say, we could have focused on what we had not. Oh, we hadn't hit this goal yet. We're overwhelmed, overextended, but we focused on what we had. It was like, what do we have? And it was like, okay, there's just a little bit of fruit here, right? It wasn't a
Mhm.
lot, but when you focus on that little, you're grateful for that little, you steward the little, and it'll multiply. And so that's one of those things that like really shifted for us. Something we're really known for. Can I tell a quick story? This is just a fun one
Yeah,
for
go
people who are
ahead.
listening. One thing we've really become known for in like our rainmaker community is the phrase like shifting I can't to how can I. Okay, because a lot of our defaults is I can't, but when you can shift this to how can I, this is literally shifting from he that has not to he that has. Okay, and so the biggest time the first time we did this, it literally like 100x'd our income. So we were wedding videographers at the time. So we're rewinding before Rainmakers, because this is where that mindset came from. Now it's something we still do to this day. And we did this commercial job where we actually they hired us to shoot a documentary for like a local rehabilitation center. So
Mhm.
a bunch of old folk, and they were cooking this meal together, and then they would take it to the homeless shelter and serve it to the local homeless shelter. So this heartwarming story. It was called Heart to Serve, and we shot this like 2-minute documentary on it. And it was a cute documentary. We delivered it to them. It was cool. We got paid like, I don't know, $2,500 ish for this project. We do that type of stuff all the time in that business. It was like no big deal. Okay, so then we get an email from them. And the guy we're connected with, he's like, I showed this to the CEO of the company, and he loves it so much. He wants one of these for every facility that we own. And I was like, how many facilities are there? And it was like 65. I don't remember the exact number. It was like 65 to 75 facilities, somewhere in that range. And so the immediate thought that came to my head was, I can't. Oh, I couldn't do
Mm.
that. That's so big. That's such a big project. And so, and then I started doing the math. I was like, okay, maybe I could, but I would travel every weekend. I would never see Chelsey. Like and I did the math. I was like, I could do this in 6 years. So, okay, I don't think I can do it, but like if I could, maybe 6 years. So I just was still limited in my thinking. That's a lot of our defaults, right? But I
Mhm.
shifted to how can I? I shifted to like, how can I in that season? Because we were starting to lean into this kingdom mindset, right? And it was like, how can I? When you ask that question, just even asking it, you might not know the solution, but every problem comes with heavenly possibilities attached if you're open to them, right? So just saying, how can I? Right?
Mhm.
It just now is like, okay, now you're open to ideas, and now God starts to speak, right? And so it was like, oh yeah, like I went to film school, like maybe some of my film buddies could help me shoot these, right? Okay, where can I find this? There's a Facebook group of alumni. And I was like, okay, I'll go post in there. So I posted in there. I actually had like 20 people that were like
Wow.
totally down to shoot these projects for me. And so I basically, not knowing all the logistics, I took a step of faith. I sent the company, I was like, we could do this thing. It'll be $250,000, and we'll do it in 6 months. Like I didn't really know how like we were going to do it, but I just threw a number out there. And before I knew it, they signed the contract and it was go time. And that forced me to
Wow.
continue to how can I and hire my 20 friends, hire an editor. And then I got paid to manage the people who did the stuff, right? So this is leveling up.
Mhm.
In the first documentary, I was level one, doing the documentary myself, editing the documentary myself. But the how can I mindset opened up an opportunity that was 100 times, paid us 100 times more. And then I was able to pay my friends 100,000 across all those people, pay an editor 50,000, and pocket an extra 6 figures that year for probably 2 months of work. Like I said, I probably spent 2 months setting up the spreadsheet and telling people how to, I could put a document together of how to shoot the documentaries. What was your camera settings? I shipped everyone hard drives. They would shoot the
Wow.
thing. I would schedule them. I'd call the people's schedule. We had a whole spreadsheet, right? But like I shifted my skill set from I am the person doing the thing, I'm the creative, to I'm the manager. I'm going to set up a system. I'm going to use my words to create wealth. I'm going to like use my language to describe what I do, right? And set up a system that I can leave and it runs without me, right? And that's
Mhm.
leverage, right? And that one mindset, I can't to how can I? It is based in that teaching of Jesus, where he says, if you have, you're going to have more, right? But if you focus on
Mhm.
what you don't have, even that's going to be taken away. And if you want to go on a fun journey, just like look at all the places he says that in the Bible, because it's multiple times in regards to multiple things. But it's something that can apply to a lot of things. If you're feeling like you don't have the time, like focus on what time you have. If you feel like you don't have the money, focus on what money that you do have. If you feel like you don't have the resources, focus on what resources you do have. If you focus on what you have, it will multiply.
Wow. Mic drop. I think we can just end it right here and it would be just perfect. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. Even the chat is blowing up right now with Hillary and Michelle all there. They're like, how can I? And yeah, that's an awesome mindset. It's so true right there. And even for us as entrepreneurs beginning as well, we kind of come to a place most of the time where we just like kind of give up because it's so challenging that we do not want to have that mindset of how can I. But you are a living example today, where it's possible. And that story, where we have and we don't use it, reminds me of another story in the Bible where when Jesus fed the multitudes, right? When the boy came with just his five
Yeah,
loaves and two fishes, and Jesus blessed it and it multiplied. And
that's
so
right. Yeah.
yeah, we
He
just got
didn't
to
start with
come.
nothing, right? He said, but the
Exactly.
thing is, the disciples said, we have nothing. If you look at that, they said, I can't, right?
Yes.
But Jesus said, how could you? And they're like, well,
Mm,
we only have these 5 fish, right? And he's like, exactly. Watch
yes.
this.
Boom. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow, so helpful what you have just shared right there in regards to the mindset. And yeah, I think we are already about time. So maybe I'll just ask you one more question
Sure.
in regards to especially the leadership side, right? So now being a leader in your business, right? Which area of it do you constantly look for or into to improve as priority as an entrepreneur right now?
So just to clarify the question, it's like, as a leader, which area am I really focused on
Yeah,
Which
to
is,
improve and
mm,
as the main priority right now.
yeah, that's a good question. I think it's going to be unique for everyone. But for me, I think I had this revelation recently that, if you look back on kind of the, like, let's say the major jumps you made in your business, right? Even go back to like, even old businesses or others, like for me, it was like, okay, I was in college, not making any money, right? Then I go
Mhm.
to freelancing. That's one jump. I'm reading this book right now, 10X. I'll just give it a plug. 10X is easier than 2X. Okay. This is where this came from. So he says that's like a 10X jump. No money in college to freelancer, right? 10X jump, right? Then I went from freelancer to, let's say, weddings, 10X jump. Okay. From weddings to commercial work, right? 10X jump. From solo commercial to managing a team, 10X, right? Or that was a 100X jump, right? And then from that to e-commerce, 10X jump. And then we've kind
Mhm.
of in that business grown it to 6 figures to 7. And now we should land over 8. Well, we are over 8 right now this year. So each one of
Mm.
those was it was a 10X jump, like mentally, right? It might not be exactly 10X on paper, but mentally you got to become a different person almost to kind of go
Mm.
10X. And so what he talks about in this book, and I just went through this exercise recently, so it's fresh. He talks about look at all these kind of jumps. So if you want to do this exercise, write down kind of these jumps in your life, put a title on them, like a little movie title for that season, right? And then look at like what was like the 80% new that you had to kind of step into to like do that 10X jump. And what was the 20% that like stayed, right? And so when I did this with my jumps, the thing that stayed pretty much always, ever since that Heart to Serve documentary project, was systems, management of people, right? Communication, sales, and marketing. Okay. And so, like every single jump, that's been my thing. The 80%'s always been this new territory, new thing, new opportunity. Like, let's go here, let's go there. But that one thing, and that's my unique, what he calls your unique ability. And so, as soon as you can identify that, like, what's my unique ability? What's my like superpower basically in this business? Then you can start structuring your week to like focus on that, like focus on
Mm.
that thing. And anything else you're doing that is not that thing, you need to build other people in your business to do those things. Okay. That's going to free up more time and you're going to have room for that new 80% of free time to go after something that's going to help you get to that next 10X jump. But it is scary. And so that is
Wow.
something that like I would say as a leader, you got to figure out like how you're wired, what's your superpower. Cause a lot of, I think, in the early days of business, you just do everything. You're really scrappy, like I'll do everything. I build the funnel, send the email, write the copy, do my bookkeeping. Like you just like do it all. And so the sooner you can get out of that, right? You may keep it scrappy for a little bit, but if there is something that is like a high time task, right? It's like it takes a lot of time. Um, it's a contribution to the business, but it's low like life giving to you. Like that's the type of stuff I would encourage you level up, right? Don't be the person who does that thing. Find someone. You could get VAs in the Philippines, like we have awesome Filipino VAs. We got off onlinejobs.ph. And like they are like so loyal to our company. They're awesome. They're on Zoom with us like every single day. And like now we want to go out to the Philippines and like hang out with them because like they serve our company at a super high level. And just the way, I mean, cost of living in America versus cost of living in Philippines, a lot different. And so our
Mm.
dollar goes a lot further there. And you can get a full-time person working for you over there for $400, $500 a month, right?
That's true.
High level, like, I mean, like our highest level Filipinos, probably 1,500 a month. Okay. And that's like, I mean, that's like doctor salary, okay, over there, right? So, like, that would be like someone really high level who's like, we have someone who hires people for us from the Philippines. She's like a
Wow.
hiring expert, right? And so, um, uh, that may sound a lot for people that are in early stages of your business, but if that 20% thing that you do can make you more than, let's say, $400, $500 a month, okay, you can start with a entry level VA who can do some of those busy work. You can free up so much time, and then you're going to increase your income probably 2, 3, 4 times because you have time, right, to do the unique thing. You'll be able to pay for them, and you'll be able to keep scaling your business that way. So that was my biggest like kind of aha is as soon as we learn to really not just be the person doing the thing all the time, right? Level up, outsource, and it's fun to build a company with other people because you get to support people all around the world. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with that.
Beautiful.
hopefully that's a
Beautiful.
fun exercise to go through, and so people get some ahas.
Yeah, definitely. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And right now, we're just going to go into a little bit of round where we call it the Kingdom Flash Minute. So I'm going to ask you three questions, and
Okay.
actually, you have answered them just now in regards to the books that you just read. But I'm going to ask you three questions, and you have less than, I think, 30 seconds to answer all of them.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. And so, without thinking right up your head right now, just go ahead and answer them. And are you ready to go?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So name three books that are helpful for kingdom entrepreneurs.
Okay, I named I think a couple so far: Poverty, Riches, and Wealth.
Yep.
Really going on like money mindset in the kingdom.
Mhm.
Um, Kingdom entrepreneurs. Let's see here. I would say Expert Secrets is another favorite book. It's not directly kingdom, but
Mhm.
when you're building a business, all about service, right? And so Expert Secrets really talks about how to make an offer where you can make your business so amazingly valuable, right, to people that are trading their dollars for your service, right? And
Mhm.
so Expert Secrets really goes into that. And then I'm gonna say Essentialism. Okay, Essentialism I read towards the beginning of, I think, this year. Yeah, no, last year. And
Mhm.
it's really kind of a book about trimming the vine, right? Like focus on the essentials. And so, again, not an overtly kingdom book, but definitely kingdom principle of like focus on the fruit, right? Like don't like I see a lot of Christians just get distracted and they're just trying to do a million things. And if the more you can stay focused on the essentials, right? The faster you're going to move.
So Essentials by who's the author?
Essentialism by
Essentialism.
oh man, Greg, no,
Okay, no worries.
George McNowan or something like that. Greg,
Okay, it's all
George,
good. Go
one
and
of
Google
those.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and
So,
then Poverty,
and
Riches, and Wealth by Chris Valentin.
Chris
Yeah.
Welton, yeah, that's awesome. All right, three books that is very helpful in the online business entrepreneurship game.
Oh man, I didn't know there's different categories here. I need to like bring up my
Yeah.
Audible.
No, it's
Okay.
always. I mean,
Well,
okay,
this
just
one
name one will do. I don't want to make it
I'll
hard for you.
10x easier than 2x is my most recent read, so it's like very very fresh.
Mhm.
This guy Dan Sullivan, Benjamin
Then
Hardy, they
Sullivan,
kind of do books
so good.
together. All
Yeah.
their books are really good. Gap in the Gain, Who
Oh
Not
yeah.
How. So Gap in the Gain is literally like it's like focus on what you have, not what you have not. Who Not How is about outsourcing. How do you hire who's for your to-dos? 10x is easier than 2x is kind of like uh it's what it says. Like it's just as easy to 10x than it is to 2x. So you might as well shoot for 10x.
Mm,
If you hit 5x, like great, you know. So like that kind of trilogy of books,
that's good enough.
I've loved so much when it comes to like the entrepreneurship space. Yeah.
That's amazing. How about three podcasts that you tune to, or even one that you really like to, that's very impactful for you?
Ooh, podcasts. I haven't been as on as or listening to as many podcasts lately, but
Mhm.
um
Or maybe one.
I
That
do
will do.
love Chris Valentin. He wrote that Poverty, Riches, and Wealth book. I just love the way he thinks. So I definitely listen to his from time to time. Um, I've been into Layla Hermosi's podcast. Okay,
Mm,
so you know Alex Hermosi. Layla
yep.
is more like kind of the I would say operation side of things. And so in the
Mm.
season of business that we're in, where we're hiring people, we're firing people, we're creating SOPs. It's not the exciting stuff all the time, but Layla's got a lot of good stuff on that. So for people that are more operational in the business, she's got some really short episodes, which I like, that are very like right to the point, like how to hire A players, right? Um, and then man, who else have I listened to recently? I would say I've been liking Dub. I don't know if you know Dub's podcast. It's called The Kingdom Joe or Joe
Okay.
Kingdom. So it's like a kingdom reaction to Joe Rogan's podcast. And so they play
Oh,
like clips from Joe Rogan, which is always just fun to watch anyway, but then they react to it kind of from a kingdom lens, which is really
wow.
interesting because it's called the Joe Kingdom. It's like brand new, but I've been like listening to a couple of those episodes.
I need to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. That's so cool. And so yeah, thank you so much once again. And I know there is another one awesome podcast that people or kingdom entrepreneurs should listen to, which is the Rainmaker Family
Oh, yes.
Podcast. Could you
Forgot
just
my
share
own.
that? Yes. Could you just
Yeah,
share,
yeah.
like, they can go and check it out, especially on this website here, right? The
Totally. Yeah. Head to our
rainmakerfamily.com.
website. We're on all the platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Rainmaker Family Show. So if you're like a podcast listener, we interview a lot of 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs, a lot of moms who are running businesses on that show. And then me and Chelsey also have some episodes where it's just us just sharing value. So check it out. We're like, man, I think we're 100 episodes in at this point.
Ooh,
So I don't think we're quitting. I think if you get over 12 episodes, you're like in the top like 1% of podcasters, right? Because a lot of people
that's true.
start and don't keep going, but it's an awesome excuse to just like share the journey and also interview awesome people. So yeah, check it
Amazing.
out.
Amazing. Thank you so much once again, Stephen. And one last one before you go. Any final thoughts for those kingdom entrepreneurs that are listening to today's podcast? Any final thoughts or final
Mm.
things that you like to share with them before you go?
Yeah, I mean, I just say like what we talked about today. So if you're coming in late, we said nothing is wasted. You're on a journey and nothing is wasted. Focus on what you have, not what you have not, and that will multiply. And don't get stuck in the I can't thinking, right? If you catch yourself saying I can't, just like write it on a post-it note or something. So you're like become like more aware of when you might just be saying that. If you catch yourself saying it, just replace it with how can I? Because
Mm.
like every problem like on earth comes with heavenly possibilities if you have your arms open to it. So shift that I can't to how can I, and you'll be surprised the impact it has in your life and those around you.
Wow, wow, that's just amazing. If I could drop my mic right now, I'll definitely do it, Stephen, because you have been incredibly amazing today. And I seeing the comments itself, people are just having mind blowing session, aha moments just popping. So truly grateful for you. Stay blessed, stay awesome, and yeah, have a
Yeah,
great rest of your day. And I'll be seeing you in a bit. Thank you
sounds
so
good.
much,
Thanks,
Stephen.
Daniel.
See you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right. There you have it, guys. That was Stephen Diaz. And guys, he was, even my mind got blown by and especially the mindset of, I can to how can I? And that's really amazing right there. So, guys, we are ending today's session. Really appreciate your time here today with us. So, if you want to go ahead, I'll be dropping the link to the rainmakersfamily.com in the comment section. And also, another thing, if you want to catch more awesome recordings and replays in regards to Voices of the Kingdom, I'll be dropping that link as well to join the Voice Warriors Facebook group, where we have awesome trainings as well on how you can have an awesome journey in your kingdom entrepreneurship path. Right, guys? So till then, have a great rest of your day. I'm Daniel Das signing out on Voices of the Kingdom. Goodbye for now.